More capital controls hit China, and it only seems to compound. The Chinese government reveals their next steps in this evolution to a cashless society, complete control of the monetary system and everything within it. The central banks, the commercial banks, and the government all collude to ensure you will never have financial freedom. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at the situation in China. Let's begin. China puts a $15,000 US equivalent annual personal cap on overseas bank card withdrawals. They are suggesting that this is to curb money laundering, but we know it really has nothing to do with that at all. So I'll show you the actual report from the Chinese government. It's a translation into English, so it's not 100% accurate, but it will do. Standardized large-scale cash withdrawal of bank cards to improve cross-border anti-money laundering regulation. They want to regulate the large amount withdrawal of cash out of banks to improve cross-border anti-money laundering regulation. You're seeing these terms, AML, being used everywhere, or KYC, know your client. And this is beginning to be a global thing. They're trying to all standardize and make it easy to have their global governance. Well, the main content of the notice include, first, a person holding a domestic bank card withdraws cash outside of China. The bank card in his or her name shall not exceed an equivalent of 100,000 yuan for each year. All right, so it goes on from here. But essentially, what we're looking at is they can have 5 banks, 10 bank cards. It doesn't matter. It's the equivalent of $15,000 US. All right, there are different rules in here if you want to read it for yourself, but I've made my point. I want to show you this. Under the new rules, individuals will not be allowed to withdraw a maximum of 100,000 yuan, $15,000 a year, regardless of how many separate bank accounts or ATM cards they have. That's according to the State Administration of Foreign Exchange, said in a statement released on Saturday. The current cap on daily withdrawals remains unchanged at 10,000 yuan per card. Okay, so they've changed it slightly, but ultimately further increasing their capital controls. Why do you think this is being done? Do you really think it's the AML? Is that a realistic scenario? Of course not. They don't do things like this for those reasons. They know where each penny goes. They can track it. They have it in their databases. All banks around the world work together consistently. They know what each other are doing at any time, and governments around the world have control of their banks and ultimately are able to see the transactions of each and every individual, every business, everything. So it's silly to think that there are rules in place like this for what they say. I, for one, don't believe it. Under the current rules, there is an annual ATM withdrawal cap of $100,000 yuan per bank card, but there are no rules to stop people from having multiple cards attached to a single account or multiple accounts with different banks. People will still be allowed to hold multiple ATM cards, but the annual limit will apply on the combined value of all withdrawals. So that's what they're trying to do. You get $15,000 per year, that's it. Now, my opinion on this is simply that it's very restrictive as an individual. So let's say you have a bank, okay, and you are located in China. You have your bank cards. You go overseas. You go to the U.S. and you're spending money. You're taking your whole family. Maybe you have 6 people in your family, and you want to spend a lot of money, and you're going to different excursions, and you're going to all these different places. You can't take out more than $15,000. You have to find alternate means. They want to keep that money in their borders, and they're doing whatever it is that they can to make that happen. Now, you might think $15,000 is a lot of money, and perhaps it is, but to some people, that's not a lot of money. They're spending like that, and especially if you have a large family and they're maybe going overseas. What are they going to do? Well, they have to figure other ways around. And it shouldn't be like that. You know why? Because that's your money. And you should be able to spend it any which way you decide. There shouldn't be an institution that decides where you get to spend your money and how you spend your money, how much money you spend. You know, it's always something that I talk about, but when you go to the bank and you decide that you want to take $5,000 out of the bank, whoa, you better call a month in advance to get that because there's no money there. There's no cash. And then they ask you the 20 questions. What are you doing with the money? What do you plan on doing with it? What are you using it for? Let me know. What is it? And they try to be all friendly with you sometimes and try to ask casually. And this is all part of the plan. They all do this. They're all just following their orders. And it just shows me, proves to me, that it's not what they say it is. It's really something going on much deeper. You should be able to spend your money however it is you decide. You know why? Because you earned that money. They didn't put that money in your bank account, although that would be very nice. The foreign exchange regulator said that if any Chinese is found using mainland bank cards to withdraw more than 100,000 yuan from overseas ATMs within a calendar year, they would be barred from taking out cash abroad using any mainland bank card for the rest of the year as well as the following year. That's a punishment. If you try and take out more than we say you're allowed to, not only will you be capped right now, you will not even be able to do so next year. What about people that are constantly traveling? Some people are going away 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year. $15,000 from an ATM may not be that much. These are heavy restrictions as far as I'm concerned. The restrictions were a necessary measure, very laughable, to curb all of these different activities. International. This is what I found to be. I'm not going to read it all due to the words that are suggested here, but what I've highlighted for you shows you it's a fraud. International experiences have shown that large cash transactions are often associated with different activities that they don't like. Why? Why is that the case? Are you telling me that if you're located in China, you go to the US, and you see all kinds of nice things that you want to buy, you can't buy them? Is that what it's saying? It's ridiculous. Why shouldn't you be able to take out as much cash as you want and buy whatever you want? You already have so many restrictions when you're coming in and out of the countries. You know, when you get on the airplanes and they make you fill out all these forms. Are you carrying this? Are you carrying this? Are you carrying more than $10,000 of currency? Are you doing this? And they want to know each and everything. You know, a lot of people get robbed at the airports because of what's happening here. They say, oh, you're not allowed to have that much. Thank you. And they do so all the time. But it's your money. And yet they use this as a perfect excuse, knowing that people are desperate. They're bound to these rules. And it's truly unfortunate. Some Chinese had been found to have used a large number of ATM cards to withdraw sums of cash overseas that far exceeded what was needed for what they deem normal consumption. Normal consumption, right? They decide what's normal consumption. In a given year, they've given you $15,000 US. If you spend any more than that, apparently you are doing something that they think is criminality. That's ridiculous. And we know the truth. It also warned Chinese not to try evading the rules. People should not borrow other people's bank cards or lend them to others to get around the regulation. So they're watching, and I'm sure they'll be tracking as much of that information as they possibly can. What a wonderful world. You know, we are heading towards a cashless society today, and using their cashless society, they can ensure that everything is tracked and database, and the use of cash and the use of some sort of commodity or the use of anything that they don't have going through their systems, whatever that is, it is a very, very big, let's say, chink in their armor. It is a big problem for them that they will feel eventually. And they know that. They know that this is happening. So what do? Well, they ultimately create these schemes, and it is truly unfortunate the way that they believe they can control people. There will always be a way around. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, it helps to support this channel. So of course, I do appreciate that very much. Last but not least, if you found this video informative, I know you will find my books, The Money GPS, and my newer release even more informative. You can take a look at the first book, which is about the 4 asset classes and how to profit from it. And also, Global Economic Collapse is about earning income, reducing your monthly expenses, and becoming self-sufficient. So definitely check those out. Links are in the description below. Take care.